All right, here we are again. How you doing, my beautiful people? How you doing all over the world? How you doing, my beautiful Africans? I'm here again to talk about something that is very close to my heart, very dear to my heart. Now, I'll start from me. I love traveling. I love going to different places, experiencing new people, their culture, their food. Yeah, I love food. No apologies about that. I think it was in 2017. After I'd traveled to a couple of places around the world, I came to a realization that I knew very little about even the country I was living in. It was sad because I was born in Nigeria. I've lived in Nigeria for the most part of my life, but I knew very little about Nigeria and the other states of Nigeria. So there was the state in which I was born and the state I moved to where I started my career and started working, and that was pretty much it. So I grew up in the southern part of Nigeria, Edo State, which was Bendel State at the time. And I moved to Lagos. That was pretty much it. I knew very little about the northern part of Nigeria, very little about the east, and not much about the west. It was sad, and I traveled to quite a number of places, different places in the world, as at that time. So I made a decision to get to know my country a bit more. And I started traveling around Nigeria. I traveled to the east, traveled up north. I went as far as Sokoto, if you know Nigeria very well. I went to Kebbi, Kano. Some of the trips were actually by road, especially in the north. I know, yes, the north. But let me tell you the truth, that sojourn for me changed my life. It changed my appreciation of my country. I began to see things that I never knew were there. I began to see beauty beyond what the media was reporting about Nigeria. I began to understand and appreciate Nigeria a whole lot more. Now, I said that to segue into something else that I find very important, and I feel it's something that as Africans we should really be mindful of. So after traveling Nigeria, for a while, I decided, you know what? This thing shouldn't just end in Nigeria. I should start visiting different African countries to get to know more about Africa, because it's an unfortunate reality, but Africans, myself included, do not really know much about Africa because we don't get to travel Africa. We don't see Africa. Our first inclination, more often than not, when we think about traveling, is traveling to, you know, all the places now. Oh, let's go to Dubai. Let's go to America. Let's go to let's go to the UK. And it's fine. I mean, travel is always an education. It's okay to travel to all those places, but Africa. Africans should get to know Africa. Travel Africa. See Africa. Because the beauty that awaits you is mind-blowing. Recently, I went to Cameroon and oh my goodness, it was a life-transforming journey for me. The people, the culture, The food, the food. It was just amazing. I mean, I was in Douala. It was beautiful, lovely experience with Douala. It was chaotic, like Lagos, where I live, but it was beautiful because the people are so interesting. Um, it's predominantly French speaking, so a lot of the times I wasn't understanding what the people were saying, but it was just interesting to watch people speaking French. I don't know, there's just something fascinating about it. And the culture, like the way people just generally, their general disposition was just interesting to see my African brothers and sisters, just in a different light. It was interesting. And then I went to Yaoundé, which is another big city. And Yaoundé, just like most capital cities, is very, up and up, a lot of interesting, lovely. I particularly enjoyed the fact that it was very cool, almost cold. Yeah, it gets cold because I think it's a cooler region. So Yaoundé was really cool. But my most beautiful experience in Cameroon was when I went to Limbe. Oh my goodness. I can still taste Limbe. Limbe is such a beautiful place. It's the city by the sea, and you can just be taking a walk by the sea in the cool of the day, and it's mind-blowing. I mean, I had some fresh prawns. I can still taste the sea in the fresh prawns I had. And we're sitting by the sea, the view magnificent. And Limbe is such a chill, laid-back town. You can just be walking through the streets. You are not afraid that you're going to get run over by a car or anything like that. The people are so warm. They are so welcoming. There's so much life and love in Limbe. Limbe was just magical for me. It was so relaxing, therapeutic almost, like it was such a refreshing experience. The people love enjoyment. Oh my God, they don't play with enjoyment. But in the same vein, they really work hard. And you find a lot of hard-working people. So it's an interesting mix of people. And that was Cameroon for me. There are other places I couldn't explore because of the time I had in Cameroon, and I'm hoping I can get some time to go back there. And this is just one of so many African countries that I still hope to explore. So I would love to encourage you as an African living in Africa, wherever you live, try and visit other African countries. Yeah. Try and travel within the continent. I know it's there's so much negative stories in the media, which doesn't help at all. You hear some news about this thing is happening in that place, and there's a lot of unrest, political unrest, and those type of things can be discouraging at times. But the media doesn't really have the entire truth about some of these places. I mean, just before I went to Cameroon, they told me, there are some places where the troubled region and all that. But I discovered that it's the same story everywhere. We have those type of issues everywhere in the world. And it's just, you have to be a bit more mindful, careful, try and connect with some of the locals so they'll tell you exactly where to go and where not to go. It's the same thing everywhere in the world. You have those type of places in the world that you should not be found at a certain time, but by and large, Africa is so beautiful. So as an African, travel Africa. Let's travel Africa more, because that will do a whole lot more for our aviation industry, our transportation industry, when we spend those thousands of here in Africa. So travel Africa. And I'll say to the stakeholders who are in charge of aviation industry, our transportation industry, try and incentivize African travel. I know it's a huge task, considering everything that's happening in the world economically right now, but I mean, we have to make an effort. Travel within Africa should be incentivized. Africans should be encouraged more and more to travel within the continent. It will help us a great deal, because I don't even want to start talking figures as regards how much is going out of Africa, because Africans do not travel within Africa. I mean, there are so many beautiful places. I'm still looking forward to traveling to Namibia. I've heard so much about Namibia. I want to go to Namibia. So if you're in Namibia and there's a way I can get there that please get me to Namibia. I need to go to Namibia. I need to go to Tanzania. I want to visit Kenya. I want to visit... I want to go everywhere in Africa, man. I want to go everywhere. I want to go to North Africa, South Africa. I'm in the West of Africa. Yeah, I need to travel the West of Africa more. I've been to Ghana, I've been to Benin Republic. I need to... Togo, I passed through Togo, yeah. I want to travel Africa more. That's the thing for me now. So, let's see Africa. How about that? Let's see.